Hello fellow Toastmasters. One of the really powerful features of the Zoom platform is there are a lot of settings that you can set up which allow various features to be on or off. One of the disadvantages of the Zoom platform is there are a lot of features which you have to turn on or off depending what your meeting is. Yes, this is a double-edged sword. Having the options is great, but you need to make sure the options are correct for the type of meeting or the way you're going to run your meeting. Now this is not definitive, and we're still learning clever ways a week in to improve our Zoom meetings for Toastmasters. But I'm going to go through the settings that I have currently and the reasons why I'm using them. So to join me in this journey, you need to log into the website version, the zoom.us website, with your account details rather than the Zoom app. And then you want to go to My Account, and then on the left hand side you've got Settings. And they are set out in a number of groups which you can get to quickly by clicking on the titles. So Schedule Meeting, Meeting Basic, you see scrolls the screen up for me. Meeting Advanced scrolls it a bit further. Email Notification scrolls it even further. But I'm just going to go back up to the top by clicking on Schedule Meeting and go through all the options that I have and those settings which I am trying to use. So the first one, Host Video. Start meetings with the host video on. I prefer to turn my video on myself when I get into the meeting, and so I turn that off. And start participants video, again, I think it's a little bit, I was going to say dangerous, that's probably not the right word. It's probably a little presumptuous of us to turn on the video because the user may not realise, and it could be a faux pas or an embarrassing incident. So let's have that one off for now. Audio type. Now we expect everybody to come in through computer audio, so you may wish to change that one to computer audio. I've got it in telephone and computer audio, so it prompts me with the question of setups, but you may want to do just computer audio. The next one is join before host. Personally, I don't like this one. I prefer to say no, so that I have to be in the room and start the meeting before anybody comes in. If you're using those personal IDs, which can be running a meeting at any time live, then anybody could effectively drop into your meeting room whenever they liked. And in which case you should get an email saying that they're there waiting for you. The next one, well, the next few really are to do with security and controlling who's going to come into the meeting and how. So we've got use your personal meeting ID. I've got it off. When starting an instant meeting, I've got the ID off. Only authenticated users can join the meeting, off, so I'm not authenticating. Require a password, I've got off, so I'm not forcing a password. Require a password for instant meeting, again I've got off, so I'm not forcing a password for the meetings. You can, when you're declaring, when you're creating meetings in advance, you can change some of those rules. So I've got them all off for the moment. So by default, anybody can turn up to my meetings and join in, and I'm sure over time I want to change that. Embed passwords into the meeting, click to join, I think is a good idea, so that they just have a link, and if you set a password that's fine, but if they've got the link they are still straight in. Require passwords for people by phone. I've got that on because frankly I don't want people coming in through the phone. Mute participants on entry. I've had that off, but I've now decided to turn it on, so people have to, again, like their camera, they have to consciously turn their audio on. An upcoming meeting reminder is just for you to get a notification if you've scheduled a meeting and then you forget that you schedule it and you get prompted to remind you. So I've got that on just to remind me. Require endpoints for third-party endpoints. Well, we're not using third-party endpoints for normal use, so you can have that one off. Allow people to chat. I've got that on. for our normal club meetings, and we're just talking about normal club meetings, so I won't talk about other particular times. Allow meeting participants to send private one-to-one meetings messages to each people. Again, I've got that on because it's a useful feature. Auto-saving chats I have on at the moment, but you might well want to have that off. It depends if you want to track the chats or not. Play a sound when people enter. Now I have that heard by host only, so the host hears when somebody enters the room, not the other attendees, so just me. Some people may decide for a club meeting they want it heard by host attendees, but then of course if somebody joins in the middle of a speech, it's going to interrupt the speech. So I have it heard by a host only, so I as the host will hear the bing bong as they enter the meeting, and it is a bing bong, and everybody else will hear nothing. File transfer, I've turned this off so people can't send files to each other. There are some clubs that may think that it's useful. It was useful at a meeting at Surbiton last week because we wanted to pass some files between ourselves, but in normal circumstances you probably don't need that, so you would turn it off. Feedback to Zoom, it's up to you. I've got it set on, and I've got end of meeting experience feedback set on, and that's the main reason why I've got the feedback to Zoom set on. I've got the feedback for the end of meeting experience, so people can do a thumbs up or a thumbs down for the quality of the meeting as just some instant feedback. You might not want that, or you might want that. That's one up to you. Co-host. You definitely want to turn on co-host and make more than one person available to be the host. If the host gets kicked off because their broadband connection is bad, or they freeze because their broadband connection is bad, you want to have somebody else who can co-host and can do the simple stuff of moving people around until the host is back, just to keep the meeting going. It's already happened in one meeting of ours where we lost the host for a couple of minutes and we had to try and carry on without a host, which is a lot more troublesome, and it does slow down the meeting. I believe that you need to have that setting done before you start the meeting. You can't just launch that option into the system. Polling allows you to do votes. You can create the votes beforehand, or you can create the votes in the meeting. It's possible to do both. And I think you can get away with turning on polls when you've started, but I would try to not take that piece of advice and make sure you turn on polling straight away, because it's only used when you use it as a host. So turn the option on now is not going to make any difference. Allow host to put attendees on hold. I call this the naughty step. If you have a member who's got a problem or creating a problem, then it's a good way to take them out of the meeting for a second. All right, you can't talk to them so easily when they're on hold. They just disappear onto the naughty step. But if you get somebody who turns up, or whatever, or just it's your control on if you get people that you don't want there or doing things you don't want. At least you've got a way to stop them disrupting the meeting. Mostly turning people's microphone off and camera off is going to be enough. But of course you can't always turn their camera off. So allow show meeting control toolbar. Yeah, I turn this on because you have to mouse over to get the buttons to all appear, and I prefer to just have them there so I can just move my mouse up and click on them. So that's why I have that turned on. Shows you Zoom windows during a screen share. Well, you have to look how this works, because you might find that this then disrupts the screen share. So have a look at how you do that. Screen sharing, are you going to allow the host to only do screen sharing or participants? I'm assuming it's going to be participants, because if you've got a speaker and they want to screen share to show the presentation, you need that on. But I only allow, hopefully, the speaker to do a share and not anybody else. Disable desktop screen share for users. I haven't enabled that. I don't see the reason why at the moment. Annotations is great. Enable that because it allows people to do a whiteboard and scribble things over, so that's good. You may decide to have it auto-saved afterwards. I don't see the reason. Remote control during the screen share. The person who is sharing can allow others to control the shared content. I've got it on for now, but if everybody knows about it and then starts collaborating when we don't want them collaborating, maybe we'll have to turn that one off again. Non-verbal feedback is those icons for thumbs up and waves. I think they're a great way of doing it. Although if you've got a, shall I say, a well-organised group that can keep quiet in the right time and turn on the microphones to clap, then that's better. But if you have a lot of guests and therefore it gets more difficult to manage, I like the non-verbal feedback. The other good thing about the non-verbal feedback is you can give feedback through that way to a speaker while they're speaking without disrupting their speech. Allowed removed participants to join. Now, you've already talked about putting people on the naughty step. It's also possible to kick people out of the meeting, so they are literally kicked out of the meeting. They are disconnected from the meeting. If you have this enabled, they can come back. If you don't have it enabled, they can't come back until you start another meeting. So I've got it on at the moment to let people back, but you may decide to turn it off. Now we're going to talk about the in-meeting advanced options, and these are the ones which you're likely to only see if you have a pro license for, in other words, the paid license for Zoom. The first one is the breakout room. The breakout rooms are a really good place to put people if you want to have discussions, if you want to have breakout rooms effectively, if you have judges or members of the admin team you want to put into a breakout room so they can have a private conversation before the meeting starts. Breakout rooms are very useful. Remote support. You can actually do one-to-one remote support to another person. This sounds like a great feature. The only problem is you can't have it running and breakout rooms. So as I like to use breakout rooms, I can't make use of the remote support version. Closed captioning and captions. We haven't got captions on our videos, so I've got both of those disabled. Far end camera control. Yeah, you're not going to need this. This is a case of when you've got like a PTZ, one of those remote control cameras that can turn around and you can remotely control it. I don't think anybody's got those at the meetings currently, so there's no reason to have that. Group HD video is a higher quality of video, and I would say yes. If you find you have a lot of members who can't use it and it causes bandwidth issues for you as a host, you might have to turn it off, but if you can, definitely have it on. Virtual backgrounds. Virtual backgrounds is when you ask the machine, i.e. your Zoom, to work out what the background is and then make it transparent so you can put overlays, or, well, not overlays, they're backgrounds behind you. This is the way we suggest timekeepers work. They have coloured backgrounds and they reset the backgrounds during the meeting. Virtual backgrounds can be turned on and the virtual background image can be changed at any time by any user who's using that feature, and the changes are almost instantaneous because it forms part of their video signal. So virtual backgrounds are really good and you should have them on. Identify the guests, participants in your meeting webinar. I'm not using this at the moment. We are not going that deep into knowing who's on and whatever. We're expecting to recognise them by their faces and by their names, so we're not using that. Auto answer in group chat. I don't see why we would want that at the moment. So we've got that off. We like to respond to meeting messages directly. And to be honest, we don't really want people using meeting messages during the meeting itself. That's like passing notes between people. It's a little bit rude, but obviously for admin reasons, we're going to leave it on for now. Only show the default email when sending. Well, I don't think a lot of us are working on the email side of it at the moment, so I'm going to leave them off. The HTML format email for the Outlook plugin, I'm going to leave that off because we're not playing with that. Allow users to select stereo audio in their clients. You might want that, but we're not using the stereo feature, so I'm not sure how that would really change the experience. Or the following one. Attention tracking is, this is a good one. I haven't got it on, but what this does is it alerts you if somebody is supposedly in the meeting but they've wandered off and they're watching Facebook and whatever. So if they're not using Outlook, if they're not using Zoom as their active program for think it's some ridiculous time, like 40 seconds. But if they don't, basically, if they're not paying attention to Zoom meetings and they're running other applications, then that's what attention tracking is. So we've got it off for now. Waiting room. I've not been using the waiting room, but some of the groups have, and I like the way they're using it, and I think I'm probably going to turn that on. In fact, I might even turn it on now while I'm doing the video. So that allows you to set a waiting room for people to wait in before you pull them into the main room. It was used very effectively at Surbiton Speakers last week, when the active people with roles were pulled out of the waiting room into the main room to be addressed and sorted out and get everything working, and then the host brought all the other people in as well. I thought that was a very clever use of it. So waiting room, I think we should turn it on, and I think we should all have a look at some inventive ways that we can use it at the beginning of the meeting, which probably means you'll want to customize the title, logo and description of your meeting room to make it a bit more friendly. Show a join from your browser link. If you enable this, then the box that appears when they do the launch Zoom, which says click on this button to launch the Zoom program, also then has a URL further down for a web link, which allows people to join the Zoom meeting not by running the Zoom app, but by running a smaller version of Zoom in their browser as like a browser plugin. If you've got people who are worried about installing software, if you've got people that are guests that don't know how Zoom works, this is a great way to bring them into the meeting without them having to worry about all the paraphernalia of installing Zoom. Of course, a lot of people who are visitors and guests might well just go to the iPhone store or the Google Play Store and install the Zoom clients from there, because they're, again, a very easy way to get involved. And then the last one of this section is allow live streaming meetings. And I've enabled this, but I haven't actually run one. In fact, I'm hoping to be running some this weekend. So I'd probably say to you, you probably don't want to add another level of complication to your meetings at this moment, but it does open some very exciting options in the future. I think you're going to have to make sure that your club members are happy before you start streaming Facebook Lives of their meetings. After all, we are very careful about their private conversations and their presentations. We hide them behind private links even when we put them on YouTube. So I don't think we're going to be live streaming all of our meetings just yet. I'm not going to go through the last section, because the last section is to do with email notifications, and I know most of you are writing emails using EasySpeak and just cutting and pasting the URLs, so the email notification section is most likely not being used. And that, more or less, is the end of my video for these options. I hope that's useful. If you want to comment below the video of how you're using it, or if you've got other ideas, love to hear them. It's a learning process from them all, for us all. I'm going to as many meetings as I can fit in to learn from other people's experiences as well. Let's share and grow together, as I think Venusian would say. He's the area director for our area, if anyone's asking. And so I finished this video. Make sure you watch the others, all good bits of information in different areas. But for now, thank you very much for watching, and good meetings, Toastmasters.